Hello, welcome to How to Succeed in Business During a Pandemic. I'm Wendy Lally, your host, and I'm delighted that you could join us today. The idea of the show is really very simple. We interview entrepreneurs and professionals who are not only managing to survive during this pandemic, but actually thrive. And we're doing that in the hope that the things that they've learned to do, that the solutions they've come up with, will be shared with you and help you in your business. For myself, I'm a marketing copywriter. And that means that I help people with blogging and copy content and brochures. And so I interview business people on a regular basis and then communicate what they've done to what they do and can do for their customers to those customers. So this show is kind of a natural fit for me because in the course of the show, we do more or less that. Today, our guest is David Richmond. Dave has actually been with us before to talk about a product called LegalShield, but he has another product that I wanted him to come back and discuss with you. It's called IDShield. And I'm a customer, so I have to have that confession there. And one of the reasons, though, that I wanted to have him on is because I'm a happy customer. And I think you will be too. But even if you don't decide to get IDShield, what I want you to be aware of is there are products on the market that can protect you from identity theft, which is a rapidly growing problem during this pandemic. So without much more ado, I'd like to introduce Dave and get him involved in this conversation and to tell you a more expert information about this topic. Dave, welcome back.
Thanks a lot, Wendy. Appreciate you having me today.
As I've said, Dave is a representative. Is that the correct title? Is associate?
Independent associate of LegalShield.
Thank you. And LegalShield also has this other side, which is identity, which protects your identity from theft. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started here. Dave, I know I've heard, thank God I haven't actually experienced this myself yet, that identity theft is on the rise, and especially during the holidays, when so many of us are using our credit card information and all of that, and we're ordering online for Christmas, for example. So what was a problem to begin with, I'm sure is going to be even more so during these coming months. And would you talk to us about that and how IDShield protects their identity from being misused?
Sure, Wendy. So I want to just add a couple things right off the bat here. There's actually two pandemics going on right now. The first one is actually the COVID virus. The second pandemic is identity theft. The thieves are running rampant. They're stealing people's identities, doing all kinds of crazy things and hurting a lot of people. I normally tell people that, with identity theft, it's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens, because it will happen at some point in your life, and you have to be armed with the right tools in order to help yourself. There's no real way of stopping identity theft. A lot of these data breaches that are happening, these thieves are stealing information from companies, but you have to be proactive in protecting your identity. And one of the ways of doing it is with the service that I actually market called IDShield. IDShield will not make identity theft go away, but it will give you the ability to understand when it does happen to you. And then if it does happen to you, you've got a licensed fraud investigator that's going to step into your shoes to restore your identity back to where it was to pre-theft status. During COVID, the identity theft has been on the rise. The latest thing is, with the unemployment office, people are getting a hold of other folks, money that have applied for unemployment. So right now that's a big problem, and I'm assuming IDES is looking for a way to way to combat that. So it is on the rise.
I know you were telling us, Dave and I belong to several networking groups together, and I have to tell you, he is the best presenter. He's like, I'm horrible at elevator speeches. He is incredible. But you were telling us about one of your clients that had her ID stolen, and someone bought a car.
Yeah. So one of my clients had her identity stolen. The thief got a hold of her driver's license and put his picture on it. They got a hold of her social security number, her name, her address, her phone number, her employer, and lots of other information about her. And this guy was actually driving around trying to buy sport vehicles with her identity, going into multiple vehicle stores, applying for loans online, applying for insurance for the vehicles. So this member actually got wind of that. And immediately when she got wind of that, she contacted the LegalShield 800 number, and she was assigned a licensed fraud investigator to step into her shoes to work with her and for her to restore her identity back to where it was prior to being taken. For folks that don't have the service, Wendy, they generally don't have the know-how on how to restore identity. They quite honestly don't have the time, and a lot of them don't have the money to make that happen. With IDShield, again, you've got a licensed fraud investigator that's going to step into your shoes and restore your identity back to where it was prior to the theft. So it's a valuable service to have, and it's a way of helping you be proactive in protecting your identity if something does happen. But I have to also throw out the disclaimer again. Identity theft is going to happen. The service is not going to make it stop happening. It's just going to help you be proactive in fixing it.
I wanted to talk to you too, getting sort of into the business of your business aside from the product itself. But as I said, you're a great networker, and but life has changed a lot since in the last 8 months. So how are you doing that? I know we're Zooming because I've met you on several Zooms, but are you doing anything beyond that, or are there certain organizations you belong to where you find that you get referrals that way?
Yeah, I do get referrals from members, friends, family, businesses, people that I have, relationships with. That's one way that I've been able to build my business through this pandemic. The other way is through the Zoom meetings. I attend networking events regularly online. One of the worst things I believe you can do as a business owner is disappear when the pandemic hits. If you disappear, people don't know that you're open for business. They may not think you're real. They may not think you're still in business. So I took the approach immediately to get involved in a lot of these Zoom meetings. I've got meetings that I meet at every week. I've got some that I meet twice a month, once a month. But it's really important to actually stay out there and be out there, while you're continuing to build your relationships to get found. If you don't have a website, you need a website. If you're not on social media, you need to be on social media. Nowadays, as you indicate, we've got to find other ways to be found, and those are some of the ways that I continue to be found.
The kind of sales that you do, I think is similar or almost exactly the same, really. I think insurance, you're in a form of insurance sales, obviously, but any kind of service, I think those same rules apply or should apply. And all too often, I think people shrug off networking. They don't really see it as the positive thing that it is and the necessary thing that it is, especially now. So it's, when you think about it, we can't meet face to face. We can't give each other the assurance that you get from being in the physical presence of someone. So the Zoom meetings, the networking meetings through Zoom are so important. And I belong, as I mentioned, I belong to two with Dave and a third, which is the BNI group that I've mentioned before. they are not, they are the heart of my marketing effort. And I'm sure the same is true for you too, Dave. I mean, we're not, people don't believe ads anymore. So what have you got? You've got your website. Maybe you do some blogs to give people information about what you do. But primarily, it really gets down to developing relationships, ongoing relationships with people. And the best way to do that is through networking on Zoom. And I sound like a commercial for Zoom, but I can't help it because it's the truth.
It's great technology. Thank goodness it's here. I think there's a lot of people out here that were really concerned when this virus hit. I know I was one of them. To be quite honestly with you, my business is up. The biggest advice is, just get out there and do it. A lot of times, people get involved in businesses and they think it's just going to happen by itself. And you just have to get out there and do it. You have to have a positive attitude. You got to wake up. You got to smile every day and just go out and do the work. At the beginning, it's tough. How do I do it? What do I do? Nobody's looking at me. Nobody's listening to me. As you do it, you do those small things on a daily basis. Those small things turn into prosperity. So my advice is just get out there and do it. You've got to find ways to connect with people. You got to find ways to build relationships with people. And at some point, if you're doing all the right things, week after week, month after month, year after year, at some point, your seeds that you plant, they end up turning into a tree.
That's very, very good advice. And I think, sometimes when people think of entrepreneurial businesses, it's me against the world. Well, it's not, or it shouldn't be. Because that's a really lonely life, and it's probably not going to be all that productive. One of the things I've found out by belonging to the BNI, for example, is that a lot of business that the members get is from each other. So they're not only buying from each other. I've got, I think, insurance up the wazoo from 5 different members, but they're also referring people back and forth. And many of the members, at least in my BNI, actually sell the same products. Many of them, let's say, I think there are 4 or 5 that are actually all insurance agents, but they've each taken an area of insurance in terms of the group. So one will be selling home insurance, another is dealing with life, another would be selling car insurance, for example. And they refer customers to each other, and they're all doing really, really well. It's just beautiful to see that.
Website, it's Richmond, the number 22 dot WEARE legal LEGAL shield SHIELD.com. I've got videos on my website. I've got all kinds of information on it. Take a look. Give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you. And I'd also love to find out more about what you do.
So all of that information, we will have like I said, at the end of this, there'll be a black screen with white type on it that will give you all of that. And so if you didn't have a chance to jot it down now, you can do so then. Okay, I guess we're just going to have to say goodbye right now. And thank you, Dave, for coming in. I really appreciate it. And I want to wish you a happy holiday, and also wish all of you a happy holiday. I hope you'll come back next week. We'll have another interesting entrepreneur to talk to you about what they do and how what they do may help you in what you do. Until then, please stay in and stay well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.